I am Natalie Lee. I am the owner of Design.Build.Style, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about hardwood floor refinishing. There's so many things you guys need to know if you're planning on refinishing your hardwood floors, and the reason I was inspired to do this video at this time is because I actually just had my hardwoods refinished, and it brought up a lot of things. I was like, man, I really need to do a video to tell our clients and to tell people out there what they need to think through before they actually get their floors redone. First up, you need to think about where you're gonna go when you're having your hardwood floors redone. Our entire home is hardwood, so we couldn't be here at all. It's not like we could just move one room of furniture out and then come right back in. We actually needed to vacate the property. So our family decided to go away on spring break and have the job done over that week. But you really need to think through where you're gonna go, where your furniture is gonna go, and then figure out if your hardwood floor company is the one moving the furniture or if that's gonna be left on you. So once you have your living situation figured out, where your furniture is going to go, the first important thing you're going to have to choose for your hardwoods is the polyurethane type. Do you want oil or do you want water? Each one has its strengths and weaknesses, so let me just give you a quick rundown. Oil is the more traditional finish or polyurethane type that you will run into. The older the house, typically, the more you're going to get that oil base. It's very durable. It gets longevity out of it, good for scratch resistance. But the downside to it is that it can yellow over time or amber. So it will change a little bit of color as it ages. So especially now when grays are popular and whitewashed floors, it will add a yellow tinge to it or an amber tone to it over time, which is definitely a big downer for design styles these days. Water-based finishes were before thought to be less durable, but there's some great new products coming out. They are more expensive, but they do have great finishes. And actually, a lot of hardwood guys are using these water-based products in their homes as well. There's a couple brands. One is called Loba, one is called Bona. Loba is from Germany, and it's a great technology in there, but you can use them in commercial spaces. And what's great is it has less VOCs. And I have my little notepad here. VOCs are volatile organic compounds. These are chemicals that vaporize into the air. So if you're sensitive to smell, or you care about the environment, or you have sensitivity to chemicals for your household, then you'll definitely want to consider something like a water-based polyurethane that has less VOCs. So what did I choose? I actually went with a water-based polyurethane, but here's the deal and the little secret. A lot of the older water-based polyurethanes, hardwood guys won't even do it in their own house because it doesn't wear as well. The finish isn't as long-lasting or as durable. And really, when you spend the time and the money to refinish your hardwood floors, you want to get as much time out of it as possible because it is quite a painful process to move, do all the stuff to have it redone. So we actually chose a product called Loba, and I'll insert a little picture here. This is a German-made water-based polyurethane. It has low VOCs and it's really resistant. It's newer to the US market. There's another one called Bona that has been around a lot longer, but these are very good, and this is what a lot of hardwood guys are putting in their own houses. They're being used in restaurants and different applications as well. So it can be used in commercial spaces, has great wear and longevity, but also has the lower VOCs, great dry time, and it doesn't amber or tint the color, which is really important for today's design aesthetics. Okay, so now you know where you're gonna go during your hardwood floor refinishing. You're going to have information on how to pick which polyurethane you wanna use, and now it's time to pick color. Geez, that can be a super daunting task. I know a lot of people really get stressed out about this, but it doesn't have to be super stressful. As a designer, what did I pick for myself? I just went the nice neutral straight route of a beautiful warm medium brown. And I chose this because right now the trend is either super dark floors or super light floors or gray floors or white floors. I just wanted a natural, timeless look of a medium brown, and that's where I steer most of my clients. Why? Because you can mix with all different finishes and it's still gonna look good, and you don't have to worry about, phasing out of what's been super popular in the next 5 years. So to pick a color, you'll just have your hardwood floor guy give some sample areas. So here's a picture here. This was a little test swatch that we actually did in our house, and you can see we just had the old yellow floor. Then they took it back down to the natural color, and I was going between a couple different colors. You can do custom mixes. So a lot of companies use just the Minwax floor stain, which is great. But if you're thinking you put them down in their natural state, you're like, man, that's too dark, man, oh, that's too light, you can mix and add clear to them to lighten the color, or add a different color shade in. If you want to make it a little more gray, you can add some gray in. So you do these in percentage mixes. If you look here, the one that we actually ended up choosing was a 70-30 mix of 70% natural, 30% coffee colored stain, and we came up with this medium brown. So as you see here in my house, I'll let you see the floors. This is them right now. So as the light shifts in the house too, the tone shifts a little bit. They're red oak floors, which always read a little bit red, but we really like how it came down. And again, as you see, it's just a nice neutral sort of a shade. So this is sort of the realm that I steer clients to, but everybody's wood is a little different. So you have to do the samples, and I suggest doing them at least in a couple spaces in your house so you can see it in different lighting. And then try and live with it for a day or two if your flooring guys have that time in their schedule to give you the samples and let you live with it for a few days. And as I mentioned, my floors are red oak, so they will have a natural sort of pinkness to them. So when you add certain colors to them, they'll read a little differently. White oak is a great flooring if you're trying to do a white floor or a gray floor. Red oak doesn't look so great with those tones. But here's something that I learned, which I didn't spend the money on doing, but you can actually bleach your red oak floors to lighten them to a white oak state, and then go ahead and apply a stain to them that's in the lighter tones of like a gray or a white, if you want like a whitewash look. So it is possible. It just costs more money, and you obviously need to find an installer or hardwood guy that is comfortable doing that process and is well versed in it. After you pick your color, you're going to need to pick the finish of the floors. There's several different options available, and I'll kind of give you the pros and cons on each. Do you want them to be matte, which is like a zero shine, no reflection on them? They actually hide wear really well, but there's no luster. They almost absorb light in them, so that's a popular thing, but not always the most desirable effect. Next up is a satin finish, which is actually what we have here in our house. It adds a little bit of a sheen to it, but not super glossy. It hides scratches and wear much better than a super high gloss finish. After that, you have a semi-gloss, which is what a lot of people do, which was more so the old school, you can kind of see the reflection in it. That is much more evident for scratching, so the wear on it isn't quite as good. And then a super gloss or a high gloss, you rarely see that. That's usually only for certain special rooms or special locations, again, because the upkeep on it, the cleaning, and the scratch visibility is really high on those. So most of the time these days we do a satin finish in people's homes. It's that good balance. You still get some reflection, but it's not so much that you're having to look, try and maintain a glass mirror, but it's not so matte that it's like absorbing light. So if you see here, you can actually see the reflection in my house, my front door here. There's still a reflection on the floor, but it's just not a crazy high gloss. Let me see if I can get you a little lower. So if you see here, this is the best illustration of what a satin finish is it has some reflection, but not too much. So now that you've made all your decisions, you need to know how long does this whole process take. It varies from vendor to vendor, but you've got to plan at least a week to have a house completely redone. This involves, moving the furniture, then you have days of sanding and prepping where they fill in any cracks or flaws in your floor or replace any damaged boards for any rotting or water damage. And then they have days, again, of sanding. Then you have to put the stain on and let that dry. And then you come back, and most of the time you're going to end up with, 2 to 4 coats depending on what applications you're using and what polyurethane you're using. My house ended up actually using 4 coats of the polyurethane because after the third, when they came back, some of the wood filler was still raised a little bit just the way the floor had settled, so they needed to sand it and do a 4th coat. So there's things like that you need to keep in account, and just make sure that your timeline and your flexibility is good, and where you're staying and who's moving your furniture, all that stuff has a little bit of leeway because you want to have some of that buffer space in case your project does go a little bit long. So now that you have your hardwoods all completely redone and everything looks beautiful, what is the care? How are you supposed to take care of newly refinished hardwoods? Well, first up, you want to make sure you put little felt pads on every single bit of furniture. Even if you see here, I don't know if you can catch a quick glimpse there, I've got all the little white felt pads We bought just a huge pack of them at Costco, and we just cut them all up and made sure they were on every bit of furniture. That's gonna be the first thing you wanna do. Second off, you're gonna wanna keep rugs off of the floors. Usually there's a rug back here, but you don't wanna do that immediately because the polyurethane needs time to cure. Different vendors say different things, but typically a week to 2 weeks till it gets to its hardened state. And it's just like if you go get a manicure or a pedicure and you put your socks on, or you get in bed and it imprints on your nail polish if you put it in too soon. The same thing with a rug. You don't wanna put a rug or anything like that on top of hardwoods, otherwise it may imprint or make the finish change up a little bit. So cleaning, the first week, you don't really want to wash them, do anything to them. A light vacuum if you need to, with no brushes for a vacuum set for the hardwood floor setting. And then once you do have them cured, what is the best way to clean them? We asked our hardwood guy. We trying to keep stuff as much as all natural as possible in our household. So we asked him, and we can do just the vinegar water mix is what we like to use in our home, just on a basic mop. Again, you just splash some vinegar in a big bucket of water and wash that way. So that is still a great option, and you will get plenty of life out of your floors. I definitely say don't use a lot of those heavy polishes on your hardwood because they can leave a film on them, altering the finish, and sometimes that can even void your warranty. So you'll want to check with your hardwood floor installer and your refinishers to make sure what cleaners are approved for your polyurethane. And lastly, if you're getting your hardwood floors redone, please just know it's quite the painful process. And it was such a great reminder for me to go through it so I can better have empathy for my clients who we put through this torture, because that's what it is. You're basically moving out of your house to just move right back in. And then when you come home, your house is dusty. Even if you have a dustless system, if that's what they're promoting when they do your hardwoods, you're still gonna get that fine film of dust that floats throughout your house and will take a week to sort of settle out. And make sure you change your air filters because they are gonna be jam-packed. Here's a picture of our air filter that we took out. That's nasty, that's nasty. That's after 1 week of work and running through your system. So it's hard, it's stressful. The payoff is great though. You get to enjoy brand new floors and you should get great longevity out of them. And the last tip I'm gonna give you that we got from our hardwood guy, which I thought was really awesome, that if you want to keep up your floors and you don't wanna have to do a huge refinishing, even in 10 years, in 5 to 7 years, have your hardwood guy come back out and see if there's any areas that they need to just add a coat of poly to, so they can sand, smooth it out, and then add just 1 coat of poly instead of a whole giant refinishing. So I plan on having my guy back out in about 5 years to look at our kitchen, because that's our highest traffic area, and see if there's any touch-up needed just for that room. So hopefully you found this informational, and if you're getting ready to do your hardwoods, just take a deep breath. It'll all be worth it.